Good morning or afternoon, everyone. My name is Mariela Salinas, and I'm a marketing specialist here at Educate 360. Welcome to today's webinar, Intro to AWS AI, presented by our expert technical instructor today, Dean Tilton. We are in Zoom for today's session, and we will be sharing a copy of this recording with you in an email after the webinar. We do encourage participation throughout the webinar, so please use the chat or the Q&A option for our short Q&A portion after the presentation. Educate 360 is so excited to present this webinar today. I will now hand it over to you, Dean.
Thank you so much, Mariella. Well, welcome everyone. Welcome to our introduction to AWS's artificial intelligence. I have a slide deck here I'd like to share with you all to go through a variety of the different, well, first of all, an overview of artificial intelligence and to kind of keep you kind of up to date as far as what's most recent as far as the artificial intelligence services that are available. Then we'll take a look at some of those different services and some various use cases where we can practically implement artificial intelligence. And so with that, let me go ahead and share my screen with you all. I'll stop sharing that window and pull up here the slide. Here, our introduction to Amazon Web Services, artificial intelligence. And so kind of a rough outline we have here of the topics. And I've separated them here, grouping together these first four because they're all related to one another. And this can actually be displayed here where artificial intelligence, actually, let me go ahead and maybe make this here, bring that to the front to help illustrate it here. So artificial intelligence includes the matter of machine learning, which includes the matter of something called deep learning, which includes a very exciting topic here, generative AI. The matter of artificial intelligence has actually been around for a number of decades. And we have here a definition and a description. Artificial intelligence allows us to create self-learning systems that derive meaning from data, then applies that knowledge to problems, to solve problems in a human-like way. Now, this first part is really nothing new, creating systems that derive meaning from your data. I mean, we've been doing that for many, many years. In fact, kind of the most recent iteration of this is what they would refer to as big data and business intelligence, basically converting the raw data from some type of data source into actionable information. But artificial intelligence is going to go a step further than that. It's going to take that information. So we have this noise of data. We're going to glean from that information, then apply that to solving problems. And specifically here in a human-like way. Now, and by the way, a few examples here, respond meaningfully to human conversations, making decisions based upon real-time data input. Maybe an example of that would be, maybe you've heard of what's called the Internet of Things, these proliferation of devices that have sensors to detect the environment, used to power our smart homes, smart cars, smart cities. Think of an example like, or imagine an example like agriculture, where these devices are embedded in the soil to measure and capture the moisture level, the chemical composition. And let's say maybe there's enough moisture in the soil to forego that day's scheduled watering. But maybe it's depleted of nitrogen. So it can then take the information gathered through those sensors, upload it, let's say, up into the cloud, and there it can make an informed decision through artificial intelligence, which we'll see practically encompasses these various algorithms or formulas that are used to determine whether or not to schedule a fertilization for those crops. And also included, and this is really a function of generative AI, create original images and text. So that's here broadly speaking. We can see it encompasses quite a bit. So again, this was developed many decades ago, actually in the late 1950s. And there's been, of course, advances more recently that matter of machine learning, a branch of artificial intelligence concerned with developing those algorithms. Now, you hear the word algorithm, that just basically means the formulas, the functions that are used to perform tasks without explicit instructions. Now, historically, or what they refer to as the classical programming approach, this was done, but basically it was a collection of if-then statements. If this is true, do this. Otherwise, do that. Um, this can be cumbersome. Um, it can be prone to human bias and errors. Now, having stated that, um, also as a caveat, a word of caution, this is also true with machine learning and artificial intelligence as well. There's something known as garbage in, garbage out. So the data itself has to be scrubbed, has to ensure that it represents, because it's what goes in is what's going to get processed and comes out. So if the data going in is biased, so too will be the results. They also point out here with this classical approach, programming approach, not always clear to humans how to solve the problem. Examples like customers' interests can be unpredictable. Um, each explicit rule, those if-then statements, adds more processing time. But with machine learning, we develop models. These are actually algorithms, those formulas, and then you have to train them. Okay, so you're supposed to train them with typically historical data that you've captured. And then from those formulas, those algorithms, it can then make recommendations. And this helps avoid hard coding or explicitly stating the individual rules. They're derived rules versus explicit rules. They're deriving rules from the data itself, adapts to complexities in the customer's profiles. And a big part of it is the use of training those modules ahead of time, with that historical data so that it can make predictions based upon that historical data. Now, again, if that historical data is biased, so too will be the results. So again, a little bit of a caution there. Um, a model is an algorithm. You build, train, and deploy it. I've described that. Another bit of a concern. So not only does the data have to be, scrubbed, but also who developed the algorithms. Okay, so that's going to affect the results as well. But with that algorithm, it'll identify patterns in the data and then can develop those rules, derive those rules. You don't have to manually set them. So that frees us up. Very useful. You can imagine its application, for example, let's say with drilling for oil offshore, based upon various parameters. Uh, Maybe like the ocean's depth that we're drilling in, the material, the elements that we're going through, the depth, all of these factor into a potentially higher probability of striking oil. So you can basically train these machine learning algorithms and derive higher probabilities for successfully getting the oil. Or maybe an example like where to place a new product in a grocery store. So you can imagine you're more likely to sell salad dressing if you place it nearby, let's say the lettuce as an example. So based upon the data gathered, we can train those, adjust the algorithms to produce more reliable results. Now, a third component, actually a subset of machine learning, is deep learning. A branch of machine learning attempts to simulate the way our brains operate by creating neural networks. that can extract complicated concepts and relationships from the data. So here we're, in a sense, trying to mimic or mirror the brain's activity. And some very compelling examples here, like facial recognition. And here, one of the service that provides that is Amazon's Rekognition. Speech recognition, I think we're all familiar with that, Amazon's Alexa. Natural language processing that can incorporate emotions. Amazon Alexa is a service providing that, and recommendation engines to track user activity to develop personalized recommendations. Again, another service there, that one with Apache. So we have here here we are, artificial intelligence, which includes machine learning, which includes deep learning, more recently, generative AI. And with generative AI, a branch of machine learning concerned with the development of algorithms that can create, and here's the buzzword, new content. That's what's called generative. You're generating new content. Examples like natural language text, images, code, audio, videos based upon user input. I was at an AWS summit for instructors in mid-February, and this was the buzzword, generative AI. In fact, actually, this was AWS. This is an introduction to AWS AI. This is the direction they are going and investing. In fact, from a marketing perspective, this was their emphasis first quarter. First quarter emphasis for AWS, generative AI. And so there's a really big push from the standpoint of AWS related to this particular topic. Now, it too, like all the other components of artificial intelligence, is powered by these models. However, generative AI is powered by very large models that are pre-trained on vast collections of data already. In fact, AWS has developed their own, I know at least two different processors that they've developed specifically for generative AI. Actually, they were described right here. Oops, sorry, let me bring this to the front here. They're Trainium and Inferencia for inferring content. In fact, I have headed here in one of the slides, or actually the website here. Yeah, Inferencia and Trainium. You could basically, you spin up EC2 instances with these processors. They're computer systems optimized for working with these models, these AI models. This one, more generic, allows you could realize savings of around up to, they say, 50% when dealing with machine learning models. This one up to 70%, but it is targeted towards a specific type of service, inferring. Let me go back and bring this one up here. So these are some examples of generating content, generating text. Actually, let me send that to send this into the, all of mine are, here we go. Generating text, virtual assistants, text and image searches. That's with a service called Kendra. Text summarization, image generation. Maybe I'd like to emphasize the word generation, because generative AI, you're developing, again, new content. Not just looking at existing content and making a decision. That is part of that machine learning. Or making decisions that simulate human activity. That's that artificial intelligence with that deep learning. Like, for example, the chat box. Someone submits some information into chat box and you get a response that doesn't look like it was generated by a computer. It was, but it doesn't look that way. though just recently we were invited over to some relatives, and the host had generated a list of questions related to Easter. And this wasn't with AWS, this was another AI product. But you could tell it was the questions didn't quite read. It's like, I don't know, was this maybe English wasn't their first language kind of a thing? It seemed like. Um, but they've made amazing progress in these areas. Now, here's a list of some of the services. For example, again, an emphasis on these development of these models. One of the services is referred to as Amazon Bedrock, another SageMaker, and I pointed out the EC2 instances that use AWS's own chips, specifically designed for working with large scale models that are trained with very large quantities of data. To be more specific, with Bedrock, now no surprise, you have a graphical interface, the management console, which looks like this. Here's your console, and by the way, you can see some of the different AI offerings there. I'll go through briefly here these ones just to show you some of the offerings. So we do have, this is the management console, this graphical interface, and items that you frequently use, you can add up here as well, basically by, let's say, for example, I was going to look at one on Lex. You can actually click on the star there, and I don't know if you could see, just added it there to that list. Bring it over there. It is Amazon Lex, or you can get rid of it by removing the star for easy access. So this is one interface. There's another interface, the Amazon Bedrock API. Now, API, which stands for Application Programming Interface, is a way you can interface with it programmatically. So you can interface with it graphically, you can interface with it programmatically. In essence, an API allows developers to share the functionality of an application to other developers. If you've ever used Excel's macros and took a peek at the Visual Basic for application or VBA behind the scenes, that's Excel's API. Here, looks like all of mine are, tell you what I'm going to do here. I'm going to cut and paste, and that way it'll be on the top every time I paste it. Here you can see a typical client server type architecture with the user making a request, in this case, through Amazon Bedrock for either with chat or text with a text response or with a image response. What's making that available is the foundation models. You can see there are a few of them here: Titan, Diffusion. If I was to go to Bedrock, let's see, do I have that one recently? Oh, yeah, actually, let me just pull that one up here. You can see there's Titan. There's one of, and there's several others here as well. These foundation models, which you can use. It's really designed here to help reduce the learning curve. Bedrock, again, giving us the ability to generate text, interact via a chat box to appear as if it was a human responding, coordinate searches across your enterprise. I've read some articles where anywhere from around 15 to 20% of a user's productivity is spent just trying to find the content. Here with searches to reduce the amount of time it takes to connect people to the content that they're after, that file that they're looking for, as an example. Summarizing text. I recently, a friend of mine was relating a story where at a doctor's office, they were collecting, they're recording the conversations, which the AI was then used to synthesize that information, removing extraneous information to basically create those doctor's notes to assist them, generating images and also personalization there. So this is very exciting. Also, some cautionary tales as well. Is this authentic or was this AI generated? We won't weigh in on those topics for this discussion. Um, Another tool that can be used for helping with uh, building, training, and deploying those machine learning models is SageMaker. In fact, they somewhat recently made some updates, and things are constantly changing. In fact, actually, to log in where I was to switch to the trainer role, they updated the interface for switching role. So that's part and parcel for cloud services. It's constantly evolving, constantly developing. The one I had noted is if you do a search on machine learning, let's see if I can get, yeah, here it is. And I click on it. You can see there that number one, there's an indication that something's changed because you just kind of zoom in a little bit. It's like, where'd the color go? Is that supposed to be that? Well, turns out that this is deprecated, which is a fancy name for basically saying it's still supported, but we're getting rid of it. So if you've already are using it, you can still interact with it, but they're directing us to SageMaker, that particular service. And that service here allows us to, for developers, programmers, they can use a integrated development environment to code it up. For data scientists, uh, low code tools, which require minimal amount of coding, but still gives you a variety of flexibility, and no code interface for business analysts. So you can still take advantage of the functionality of SageMaker without having to know any code. And by the way, if you don't know any code, the big surprise is that it's actually pretty simple. You may look at some code and say, that does not look simple, but it's really just a few key concepts, variables, looping structures, and conditional statements, along with objects. And that's kind of the main components of it. By the way, Python would be typically a popular language, very powerful, but relatively low learning curve compared to some other languages. Now, some various, I know there's a lot of information here, and we don't have much time, but just to reference here some different cases where AI is being used. I mentioned one example in the healthcare community with basically summarizing conversations to be part of the notes used by the doctor or the healthcare professional. You can see some others there. In the life sciences for drug discovery, the use of financial or in the financial service sector, actually there's a specific service for fraud detection. I think I actually have a reference to that one here. Let me see if maybe I have it, maybe not. Okay, it'll actually appear. It looks like I don't have that one more recently, but I have a slide that points that one out. But there's a service specifically for fraud detection. In manufacturing, for example, in material sciences, particularly like in the aerospace industry where they're looking to create composites that have, let's say, the strength, the tensile strength that they need, yet not have the weight of traditional materials so that when they send it up into space, they don't have to consume as much fuel to deliver that, or maybe to withstand extreme temperatures, hot and cold, as it orbits around the Earth or sent out into deep space. Use cases in the retail industry, pricing optimization, just making here a reference, media, a lot of them here. Well, I'm running out of time, so let me go ahead and I have here 10 specific AWS services, just to mention. Um, Here, Amazon Polly for text to speech, and going the other direction, Amazon Transcribe to go from speech to text. Another service, Textract to extract text, handwriting, and data from scanned documents, and Amazon Kindle, which provides that unification of your searches across disparate systems and data repositories, including both structured and unstructured. I had just to give you an impression here. So not surprising with relational databases, but also your S3 storage. And then look at all these connectors. I mean, I don't have time to look at specifically at them, but these are just a huge collection of connectors to various data sources to synthesize and basically provide access to do searches across those various data sources, those data repositories. Amazon recognition for image and video inspection, like facial recognition. Personalize for tailored experiences for your customers, like, for example, with their browsing to a site. You could think of, the Amazon website for doing that. Amazon Lex for building interactive chat boxes. Comprehend for uncovering insight from texts within documents. There it is, that Amazon fraud detector. Identify potentially fraudulent online activity. And Amazon Connect. Contact center service to deliver superior customer experiences. And here's just kind of a little synopsis. In fact, let me just take a quick picture of this, and I can maybe just paste that here in the, see if it'll let me paste that in there. I don't know if I have permissions. Maybe I don't have permissions to do that. Well, you're welcome to take, if you want to take a snapshot of that. If you're using Windows, you can do Shift Windows key S, Shift Windows key S, and actually draw a picture or capture it there. And then you could paste it, let's say, into a Word document or something like that, if you're interested. There's also another link here to list other services. Now that let's see here if they give me permissions here to send that one. There we go. I'm just going to try one more time. Just check this out one more time. Not sure if I have permissions, but I'll give it a try. No, it doesn't look like I need to paste it there. But that'll list some additional services. Yeah, there they are. You can see some more, so more exhaustive list. I gave a sampling of 10, but you can see this is the direction that AWS is going. All right, well, that'll wrap up here our presentation. I want to thank you for joining me for this half hour, our session. And anyway, an exciting field. This is the direction AWS is going. It is and as you can imagine, it's where industries are going as well. A lot of pros, some concerns, I realize. Maybe that's for perhaps another lunch and learn. Thanks again for joining me.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Dean. This was a lot of really great foundational info. And if anyone in our audience needs any more info on this topic, please do not be afraid to visit us at newhorizons.com. And if you missed out on any part of this session, we will be sharing a recording with all of you in an email after the webinar. So thank you so much. Oh, we had a question here. Oh, you have not been receiving a copy of the slides. Oh, no. Well, we are giving you the link to the recording, so maybe that might be the difference, but we can definitely follow up and look into if you guys aren't even getting the recordings for sure. So thank you so much for bringing that to our attention. But other than that, oh, we have the same issue. Oh, okay, yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for letting us know, everyone, for sure. Thank you. Alrighty. Well, I believe that should be it for us today. So thank you all so much for joining us, and I will definitely look into getting your recordings. Thanks again, everyone. Thank you again, Dean. Bye.